Oh, hello, and welcome to Office Hours, a live. Oh, wait, one sec. Yeah, yep, this is he. Yeah, no, I'd say as long as we can, we can mobilize a couple of the attack platforms to keep him from buying advertising space on the bright side of the moon. Hmm? Y- um, yeah, there's a lot of the Starlinks are easy to navigate around as long as you know where they're going to be. So if we can just reposition, yeah, some of the laser bees around that area, we can kind of navigate through. Uh huh. Yeah, no, I don't care how much surface area it is. I just refuse to see cat girl memes on the moon. What? Oh, um, a large cheese pizza, I guess. Sorry, I. Thank you. Bye. Hello and welcome to. Sorry. Hello and welcome to Office Hours, a live component of the facility where Professor Kyle opens up his aperture-like doors and allows all of you, members of the general public, members of my security team, Jabo and Heather, members of the facility, come in for the next hour or so as we discuss all in the world, science, pop culture, and technology. Today's a little bit different. If you're a longtime viewer, I see a lot of first-time viewers. I love it. Get on into the facility. Today's a little bit different. Not only are we starting early because I have a call that I have to take about a very exciting project, maybe, but we also will be doing it a little bit differently. This week, well, in previous weeks, I usually like to take one big topic and break it down for like 20 minutes or so. But this week, nothing was like that. So we're gonna be returning to the office hours of old a little bit and trying to hit a number of different topics, all at the same time. Well, not at the same time, but those topics, which I did not. Kevin, I didn't load the top. We'll be talking about Elon Musk buying Twitter. I broke my chair. Oh, my chair literally broke. I'm so beefy. We'll be talking about Elon Musk buying Twitter. We'll be talking about a possible advancement in battery technology with nuclear batteries. We'll be taking your comments and questions from the latest episode of the facility. Oh, I gotta get a new chair now. And we'll be talking about the anniversary of the Chernobyl disaster. And I will be your semi-expert conduit to any and all questions you have from that. But of course, if you want to continue on this conversation after this is live, watch it on YouTube after it's live, or join the facility, where if you join the facility today, you get our official Discord, which no one else can get into without proper access, or they'll be vaporized. You get behind the scenes photos and videos. You get to take polls on what the YouTube uploads look like, what their titles are, all of this stuff. And of course, if you really, really, really want me to see something live here on stream, you can try Super Chat. I cannot promise I'll get to everything, but I'll try my very best, as I will with Liz Calvert's $20 donation. She's always in here. Hey, Science Kyle, my tiny human Alex has a question. Why do we still have allergies? I don't like them. Shouldn't have evolution made it so we don't need them? Bodies are really weird. Good question, tiny human Alex. I hope school is going well for you, buddy. I think I recently only developed allergies. Thomas, thank you for the $1.99. Recently developed allergies. I had to take allergy medication for like the first time in my life the other day. One thing, and I'm obviously not an expert on anything, especially allergies. But one thing that's important to understand about evolution is that it doesn't deal with stuff that's not necessarily an evolutionary pressure. So, Alex, when organisms like you, or animals, cats, dogs, fish, parasitic lukeworms that live in your bloodstream, for an organism to change over time via natural selection, that selection has to have some pressure to it. There has to be something about nature that says, oh, you have to eat this amount of food or compete with these other organisms, or you have to impress this lady or this guy so that you can have babies, or you have to get over this mountain range, or you have to live in the ocean or not, whatever. All the conditions that are on Earth, you have to get around those. And how evolution does that is through a random process of natural selection. Random, by which I mean when a baby is born, the genetics it has can have random mutations in it, and whether or not those mutations are successful is what the pressure is put on. So the classic example is that if a proto-baby horse, not even a horse, Alex, long time ago. So if something that looked like a horse was born with a slightly longer neck in an area where trees are very tall, then the pressure to have slightly longer necks to get up at the trees, that might be a very strong pressure. And over time, millions of years, you might end up with horse-like things with longer necks, like giraffes. Maybe. Which is getting back to your allergy question, Alex. Having allergies, being coughy and sneezy sometimes, if it's not impeding our... Sorry, I'm using big words. If it doesn't stop what we're doing, living our lives very much, then it's unlikely to be a heavy selective pressure, right? It's not actively killing humans off or shortening their lifespans. Then it's unlikely that a mutation would be strongly selected for to deal with it. Right? Now, that's different than something like lactose intolerance or skin color or any of these things where things like sunlight or the availability of milk can deal with how humans look and live. So allergies, I think, just aren't strong enough of a pressure, even though they annoy us. They annoy me too, Alex. William Stotts with a $13.99. Hello, Captain Kyle with Canadian money. I was wondering that since the world is running out of helium, will particle accelerators still be able to run without liquid helium? And your hair is looking fire as usual. Oh! Liquid helium is actually in short supply, because, and this is always going to be the case, but it is in short supply. I don't know what we're going to do with it. But what's interesting about helium, why is it in short supply? Well, it just turns out that helium, at a certain temperature and pressure, it weighs so little that when it's in the atmosphere of Earth, it can escape into space. So gravity is not strong enough. The gravitational effect on this helium is not strong enough to prevent fast-moving helium particles from just... That's accurate. That's an accurate representation of what helium does. You can't hear it because your ears aren't that small. But near the edge of the atmosphere, helium just escapes, and it's just light enough that it will always escape. And so it will be in short supply. Corey, guys, we got to get to our topics today. All right? I have to make it out in time for a very important phone call from someone who's probably not Domino's Pizza. Corey Steele with the 20. Your Half-Life videos are the stuff of legend. 20 years from now, people will still be looking at them and learning. Corey, I appreciate that. Went to the Ren Fair the last couple of weeks, and more and more people are saying that they recognize me or like me for the Half-Life History series, so thank you. I'm humbled and honored. And once the world returns to normal a little bit, we'll be pushing out more of our Chernobyl videos, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But I will say that 2 days ago, I recorded a new Half-Life History, another 3,500 word essay in the style that you know and love, apparently. And that is another kind of true crimey historical look at a nuclear accident. And I think it's going to be really good, and I hope you enjoyed it. Jonathan Amoros with the 20. If there's any, I'll say this as I'm reading all these chats. If there are any Australians in chat who want a super chat, I will read almost anything you say in a perfect Australian accent. Why? Because I've been watching a lot of Australian streamers, and I've been annoying Arya with how good I am at getting that accent right. Jonathan with the 20. Hey, Kyle. Long time and avid fan. I really wanted to get your thoughts on the recent nuclear fusion breakthrough. I've seen a few videos on. Thanks for all the awesome content. Jonathan, we have a previous live stream on it, so I won't say too much. What I will say is that though the results are promising, we're still not to the stage of using the heat generated from fusion reactions to heat up water to make electricity. We're not quite there yet. Magnazone with the 20, who just says Magnazone. Are you a Pokemon? Karagoth with a 169 SEK. Hey, Professor Kyle, the facility looks great. Who is/are the architects? It's easy when you have a lot of Kevins. It's like how the pyramids were built, when you have a lot of manpower. I mean, ethically, they source that manpower in probably a bad way. But ancient alien type videos and series are like, well, who could have built the pyramids? Well, when you have 10,000, 100,000 people building something for 20 years, I think you can probably make something work, huh? Don't sell humanity short. We can do amazing things when we come together, whether that be building great structures or creating great science. It doesn't take an alien to give equations to Einstein. That belittles his brilliance. Don't do that. Ancient Aliens guy. Stop it. Stop it. Joseph, guys, we gotta get to the topics today. Or I could just, I gotta tell you, it is hard sitting here and just reading donations and of people saying my hair looks great. It is difficult. I will say that. Joseph McFarland. Kyle, have you ever smelled thiocetone? It's very smelly and can affect people up to 0.75 miles away. If I did smell it, how would I know? What does ARIA stands for? You'll find out eventually. Inazuma Fool, as usual, with the 20. Kyle, I missed you. School has kept me busy. Love you and everyone in chat. Let's get some hearts for Inazuma. Can you ask one of the Kevins to stop hiding in my trunk? No. He is there to ensure that no one else is. You know what I mean? Sir Winter Payne with the Australian $5. Okay, here we go. G'day, mate. How you going? Sweet as day here's gonna be gross in the Avro, mate. Arvo, mate. Sweet as... Oh, man. You threw some jargon at me, huh? Okay, I'll try it. I'll nail it. Okay, watch this. Sir Winter Rain with the Australian $5. G'day, mate. How you going? Sweet as day here's gonna be grouse in the Arvo, mate. Hey? Not so bad, is it? Not so bad, is it? Anyway, Delta Tesseract says, this guy is hilarious. Delta, I'm about to surprise you. Not only are we funny, and, as some might say, cringy here at the facility, we also talk about... Hosea says, to the topics, keep up the good work with the 10. Bam! Kyle Farmer with the 5. What are these? Kyle Farmer with the 5 says, Kyle, I'll be growing my hair out soon. I hope to catch up to you. Would love to have a gorgeous hair competition. The competition's pretty steep these days, Kyle. Don't make me have a Kyle competition in the style of the Josh competition, because I will fight you. Have you seen my look today? There's no shirt under here. I'm going for the blonde guy Karl from Die Hard. His name in the script was Kyle. Anthony Bueno with a Bueno comment with a 1999. Do you know the future of batteries? Hey, what a topical comment, because we're about to get to that. Long time no chat. Hope the science goes well, says Silvos. Here we go. Ben Helium says, Kyle, do you even trust atoms? They make everything up. Ben, please see yourself out. So, a recent article has been making the rounds. Some of you sent it to me about nuclear-powered batteries. Nuclear batteries. And a number of you were sending this to me because, of course, you know I'm interested in all things nuclear. But what was also interesting was that I think a lot of these outlets were overblowing or blowing out of proportion what was actually going around here. Matthew Jones says, anyone know what Kyle's hostile takeover amount is? What, like how much money you'd have to pay me to take over the facility? Buy because science and give it to me. James Johns, been following you for many years. How heavy is the burden of being such a wonderful, inspirational human being? Calm down, 1. And 2, the burden is that all the moments that I'm off camera, which is 99% of my life, I feel terrible. Now, back to batteries. So, what's interesting about this nuclear battery possibility is that it uses nuclear decay itself as an energy source. Now, how is that possible? These energy sources are going to be crystalline in nature like this. So you'll hear the term crystal. Now, how would you do that? Now, if you know what radioactive decay is, it is just pieces of large atoms, large unstable atoms, flying off at random times in random directions. The rate is not random. Okay? Absolute Zero with the Australian $20. G'day, Kyle. It's been a while since I caught you live. Keep up the good science. Good on you, mate. Thank you. See, the accent's, admit it, it's not bad. I was walking through the Ren Fair the other day, and last weekend, and I think I was doing my Australian accent, and I look like this, obviously. And some guy was passing by, and he's like, "Is that Chris Hemsworth?" And A, thank you, but B, what I said was, I'm like, are you, like, what I actually said was, what? Don't you think I'd have, like, way more bodyguards or something, and be taller and more handsome? And he's like, oh. Anyway. It's not bad. Your accent's not bad. It's also not great. Get out. Anyway. A lot of people saying an RTG for a nuclear battery. That's a radiothermal generator, and it is not quite the same thing. So, radioactive decay is when things decay. When large unstable nucleus flings out particles in random directions. It also flings out energy, sometimes in the form of gamma rays. But what's interesting for some radioactive isotopes is that they fling out electrons in the form of beta decay, named beta because it's the second most penetrating type of radiation. Alpha being the least penetrating type, beta, more penetrating, gamma, more penetrating, neutron, whoo, good luck. You need the world's heaviest door for something like that. So, beta decay, moving electrons firing themselves off from a large particle. That sounds a lot like moving charge, doesn't it? Moving charge is electricity. And so if you have something that decays with beta decay, you could, in theory, harness those moving electrons shooting out and use that as a form of electricity. James Jonas with the 2 says extra $2 for correctly pronouncing my last name. Did I just mess it up this time? James Jonas? Who cares? Thanks for the 2. I mean, you care, but they don't. So you'd be able to harness these, the flow of beta decay for some kind of electricity. Now, what would you use to get, I see why I broke it, because I always do that. What would you use to generate this kind of electricity? Well, what new startup companies like NDB, no big deal. Wait, no deal big. That's not their name. Oh, the plural of John is Johns. Yeah, I nailed it. The batteries look like this. Now, where would they get some of these radioactive isotopes that emit beta decay? I just want to point out how difficult it is to immediately like switch completely different topics and then try to remember where I was talking technical information. What I'm saying is that you're welcome. Now, what this startup company wants to do is use radioactive carbon-14. Now, you may have heard of carbon-14. It's what we use to carbon date materials. And we do that by measuring the difference in abundance of radioactive carbon-14 and normal carbon-14. Because the ratio in the Earth's crust is a known quantity and how it decays over time, so that if you take something out of the ground or you find some organic thing with carbon in it, if you measure how much radioactive carbon is in that thing, you can work backwards for how long it must have been there for the decay that we see of the radioactive carbon in it. That's how you carbon date something. You also can't carbon date stuff that isn't organic, doesn't have carbon in it, and it only is good for a certain amount of time. So you can radiometric date other things using radioactive isotopes with longer half-lives, but you can't radioactively carbon date everything. A lot of people, a lot of like dinosaur flat earth types saying like, well, you can't carbon date dinosaurs. How do you know how dinosaurs are old? Well, you don't carbon date everything, so you're not even wrong. Anyway. So these researchers want to use radioactive carbon-14. Where are they going to get it? Nuclear waste. Nuclear waste. So carbon, form of an allotrope of carbon, is graphite. Nuclear reactors use a lot of graphite as moderators and components of fuel rods in nuclear reactors. And we generate nuclear waste that is radioactive graphite, which is radioactive carbon. So using that radioactive carbon, you can put it into a tiny little battery thing like this, have it undergo beta decay, and then generate some flow of electrons, as we said, electricity. Now, two things. One, the amount of radioactive material that's in one of these batteries is completely harmless. It is less radioactive than the stuff in your cells. Okay? Two, utilizing radioactive waste for other things is good. Technophile with the 5. Larry with the 5. Hello, Kyle. I've been a fan ever since I learned about Bazzy from you. LOL. Bazzy? Oh, the Basilisk. Don't. Shh. First time catching a stream, but hope to catch more in the future. Much respect. Whew, Larry. Will that power your new facility in a few years? Says Michael Skinner, always in the chat. Good question. Third thing, when people, I said at the beginning of this topic there, people were kind of hyping this up, right? But were they hyping it up for the wrong reasons? Kind of. They were saying, oh, we might, power electric vehicles with something like this. Because the amount of radioactive material used is so small, and the beta decay is relatively inefficient as a source of electricity, one of these batteries might only generate micro or milliwatts. Very, like a millionth or a thousandth of a single watt. And so you would need, I don't know what that exact math is, billions or trillions or more of these to power something like a Tesla. But what could they be used for? Low wattage, long-living things, because the benefit of having radioactive material that decays is that depending on the half-life, it can take a long time for it to go away. Specifically, these researchers say that with the best battery technology from this, they could have a battery that lasts 28,000 years. What would you put that in? Could be some low power satellite monitoring device. It could be something like a pacemaker. Other things like the equivalent of wristwatches that don't require a lot of power. Now that could be very cool. The problem being they have almost no proof of concept and no data that we can look at. So is it really a revolution? I don't know, but it is interesting. But maybe it's not as interesting as what you have to say. Beyond McFittaboy with the 1999. Hello, Kyle. Thank you for all you do and the amazing content you post. Glad I can join your stream on this fine day. Thank you. We have Seth Wells, now frequent science boy in the chat. Hey, Kyle, I was curious if you still game. Have you played Elden Ring? Love learning for you, man. We have my first playthrough of a stream of Elden Ring on the gaming channel, which I have been basically ignoring the last couple of weeks and months. But I have thought about getting an Elden Ring session. Ooh, look at this Australian comment coming in. Ooh, I'm going to pronounce the heck out of it. Look at that. Ooh, it's coming. But I will get back on the gaming train soon. I'm just busy. And trying to get the channel back on track. We had a crappy start of the year, so we're trying to get back on it. But with air-rated poop water doing so well, back on track. Morgana with the 5 says, good afternoon, Kyle and everyone. Morgana, you're so polite. Andre with the 5, I wrote earlier that your Aussie accent wasn't that good. I lied. You rock. And learning while being entertained is always awesome. Cheers, you bloody legend. Okay. Here we go. You still see it. There we go. Ray, good luck with the Australian $100. Hey Kyle, love the show. Hope you're well. My partner and I have been dying to ask, how many traces of DNA could there be in a single drop of rain? Love all your work, mate. And shout out to my beautiful partner. Stay safe, stay smart, people. Cheers, you bloody legend. This is my first live stream in the year of our Lord, 2022. Again, I feel like I nailed that. How much DNA is in a single drop of rain? What a weird question. I don't know. But what a handsome question. Tangential to that, see, what you do as a science communicator, what I like to do, is that if you have no idea the answer to a question that you're asked, pick out something that's close and tangential and interesting, and then pivot. Here, so watch that. Watch this. How much DNA is in a single drop of rain? That would be extremely hard to tell without looking at that exact drop of rain. But what's interesting, Ray, is that we now know that the atmosphere and the clouds are much more alive than we ever thought. There are viruses, there are bacteria up there circulating where thunder forms, where ice nucleates. And so there's a lot more DNA than this in the sky than you may think. See how I did that? See how I just like, I don't know, but what about this? I'm going to say big words at you. And then people are like, oh, here's $10. Mary W. with the $10. If it wasn't for you, Kyle, I never would have found out that I'm on the autistic spectrum, or ASD. Thank you, Kyle. You've changed my life for the better, and I'm the happiest I've ever been. Mary W. with the 10. Mary, look. I wanted to learn more about myself. I don't want to give anyone any medical advice or anything like that. But if my experience has helped you in any way, Mary, I am humbled and honored to be a part of your journey of self-discovery and education generally. Thank you so much. It does mean the world to me. I keep so much so that I usually keep screenshots of nice comments like that in a folder on my desktop called Nice Things, that when I feel terrible, I look at it. You know, the sky is alive sounds like cosmic horror. Speaking of cosmic horror, what a transition. Muskwatch, please, Kyle, we need the show again. Man, my timing is just impeccable, isn't it? So I don't want to talk about this too much, and I put the chat in subscriber only mode for this purpose. But what I do want to say is a quick note to he's never going to listen, who cares? But regarding Elon Musk buying Twitter for the reason that he says of preserving free speech. So he recently accepted his offer of $45 billion to buy Twitter because he randomly decided that he's now a free speech warrior. And the only thing that I want to say, and I want to make very clear because people get, people jump on me on Twitter, now his company, for saying things like this, but there is a difference. I'll preface it. When concerning things that science has something to say about, there is a difference between free speech and your right to speech, right? So I have been following him for a long time, and what I can tell from his posts is that his crusade for free speech seems to be more leaning on the side of whataboutism. And I'm just asking questions. And why shouldn't we joke about this? Why can't I make a meme about this kind of edgelordy oh, look at me kind of stuff. And like I said, for a lot of topics that science doesn't have anything to say about, that's fine. It is free speech, right? But when you are the richest man in history, or richest man alive, and what you choose to do with your platform is shitpost anti-vaccine memes, then this is a difference between free speech and well, true freedom of speech and what you should actually say in a society on one of the biggest platforms in that society. So from a public health standpoint, disseminating misinformation is actively a menace to public health. Someone like Elon shitposting anti-vax memes is a direct menace to public health. Now, a lot of his fans will say like, "Oh, it's just a joke, bro." But on a big enough scale, even if the chances of someone believing him or someone not getting vaccinated as a result or further sharing the same misinformation, even if that chance is 1 in a million, okay, that's still 50 people. That's still unintended consequences. That's still potential harm from a public health perspective. And when I say 50 people, it doesn't sound like a lot, but 50 people that on a platform where information is generated exponentially, one person tweets to 10 people, 10 tweets to 1,000 people, tweets to 100,000 people, we know that misinformation spreads way faster than any factual information and any information that can counter that misinformation. So from a public health standpoint, the wildfire of misinformation is something that you do need to keep an eye on. It is not just saying something just to say it. Just what about, I'm just asking questions. Some questions or some misinformed and intentionally misguiding questions are not worth saying, and you do not have the freedom to ask them publicly in a way to misinform other people, in a way to sow doubt and discord in a populace during a pandemic. That is not something you have the right to do. You know what Elon Musk is right now? Unless he can really prove it to me differently. Elon Musk stood up in a theater, yelled fire, and then didn't like how people reacted, so he bought the theater. Prove me wrong, man. I wish you would. That helmet with the 10 says, "Hey Kyle, I wanted to ask if there are any way to make non-radiation emitting nuclear bombs and not just wanted to ask if there's any way to make non-radiation emitting nuclear bombs." I'm not going to tell you how to make nuclear bombs. And I don't know how to make nuclear bombs. Actually, that's a topic of a Half-Life history, actually, that I have on the books. Is it possible to make a nuclear bomb if you have enough information and you're not an expert? I'm not going to talk about bomb making. But to answer your question, kind of, nuclear fission and fusion necessarily generate byproducts, and it's always going to be radioactive in that way. Free speech is dangerous. Please use responsibly, says Charlie. Ray, good luck with the 20 coming back in. Love the answer, mate. Aussie accent is great too. Looking forward to the epic videos to come from the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Coyle Hill. Austin Brush with the 4.99, who says something that looks weird, so I'm not going to say it. Juka with the 10. Greetings from Finland. Greetings. What time is it there? My first live from you after all these years. Thanks, man. You can read this in a Finnish accent. No, because I don't know how to do that, and it's going to sound offensive. I don't even know what a Finnish accent sounds like. Valhalla says, that was a cringeworthy take on the freedom of speech. In what way? It's fine. I'm not going to time you out. I'm not going to ban you. That's fine. Why? Tell me why. Tell me why. Look, it'd be different if someone who bought one of the largest, most public ways to disseminate information, it'd be different if they were like a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist or something, right? If the variables were different, my concerns would be different. But Elon seems to believe himself some Tony Stark Reddit meme lord that frequently missteps very publicly for very stupid reasons. So it doesn't give me a lot of hope. What is the radius of your hill sphere? Says the frozen biscuit with the 5. Like half an inch. People, calm down. All right. It's about half an inch. See? Yeah, half an inch radius right there. This is the top half to my Demon Core display. What? Do you think I was looking at something dirty? You circus animals. Let me catch up. A Technophile, another 5. Sorry, missed yours previously. Office hours topic idea. Mass energy information equivalence principle. Information having mass. What? I don't know if I could discuss that live without making a bunch of mistakes. Hey, Kyle, you look like Thor with that blonde hair, says Lewis. What? Me? That is the first time I've heard that. I'm going to screenshot it. Inazuma, back with a 10. People are incapable of understanding that the freedom to do something does not mean it's a requirement to do something. Ethics has a shorter half-life than any known element. Ooh. Do you play Yu-Gi-Oh? No. I've never played Yu-Gi-Oh. I've played with Digimon. Does that count? Are you going to make a 3 Mile Island video for a Half-Life series? Yes, it is on the books, and I do know a nuclear engineer who was there when it melted down, which is a good transition point, probably. Nestor says, do you still talk to Dan from Nerdist? Yeah, Dan Casey is a good friend of mine, of course. We watched AGDQ together just a couple months ago. What, in January? Do you think a science-based economy is possible with a highly educated populace as Charlie Spur? Without most people having access to good, cheap education, it's going to be difficult to educate the majority of people on anything. And that's just, What's your favorite time waster at the moment, says Brian Murray. What the heck have I been doing? I'm wasting time right now. Regalog with the 15. Hey, Kyle, I can't stay long. I have to go deal with something that is definitely not a containment breach. Keep up the good work. Oh! Okay, wait. Jarrett Studios, I've been subscribed for many years. Now's a good time to unsubscribe. I don't subscribe to any anti-freedom channels. Well, thank you for posting that in a way that wasn't reviewed, removed, and it was highlighted by me publicly in front of hundreds, if not thousands of people. So, yeah, you've been completely... I drank your freedom. Your freedom is gone. Anti-freedom channel? Hey, man, if that's what I come across as, thank you for all your support over the years. So today is the 36th anniversary of the Chernobyl disaster. The worst nuclear disaster in history. And if you followed me for any amount of time or watched any of the things that I do, you know that my recent history is particularly woven into the history of Chernobyl now, for whatever reason. I was interested in it, started making videos about it. Those videos were successful. I got in contact with some very interesting people, And I went to Chernobyl last year, and we still have videos to put out about it. Our second in the series was taken down due to a copyright claim, which was legitimate. We messed up. But those will be coming out hopefully soon. I didn't want to actively put stuff out when Chernobyl itself was, under occupation and things can change. But as of yesterday, I think, the head of the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, just visited Chernobyl. It's back under Ukrainian control, and things are getting more normal. So more stuff like that to come. But seeing it is the anniversary, and I do have a lot to say and think about Chernobyl. If any of you in chat have something to say or think about Chernobyl, or you want to know about my time there or anything like that, you let me know right now, and we'll take a few minutes of it. Tia, I saw you before the stream started. Now we're going to do it. Hey, Kyle, love the show. Do you think the Russian soldiers who dug trenches at Chernobyl and then retreated are now dead, or are they still alive? How long could they have left due to radiation poisoning? Tia, here's the thing. I have not seen any evidence that the Russian soldiers were fatally irradiated, nor did I see any evidence that they got an exposure such that they had radiation sickness at all. All of the people that you see saying that are politicians in Ukraine or elsewhere, or no one has said that who's an expert, who has knowledge of the area. And so based on my knowledge of the area, I'm not an expert, based on who I've spoken to some people who are at Chernobyl right now, and I won't say their names or anything, and speaking with my expert who led me through Chernobyl, we are all very skeptical. We are all very skeptical that any Russian soldiers got radiation poisoning. And the simple fact is that while there is radioactive material everywhere in the zone, it's been 36 years. Radioactive material has half-lives. And it's been 36 years of environmental movement. Think about just rain, topsoil, wind. There's weird concentrations in the zone in some places, but a lot of the nuclear material is either buried or taken up in trees and plant life. It's not just it's not ambiently dangerous. And neither is digging a little bit into the ground. And so right now, Tia, what I would say is that I haven't seen any good evidence that any Russian soldiers are going to either get radiation poisoning or die from it. It would be bad to do what they did, and you'd get a good dose doing what they did for a couple of weeks or a month, but it wouldn't kill you. And I know I'm missing some people. Jesse Estrada, happy 36th anniversary to not making the same mistake again. William, why'd you get your mechanical engineering degree? It's a civil environmental engineering degree instead of nuclear engineering, considering your knowledge of all things nuclear. Well, I didn't really get a fascination with nuclear engineering until I started making videos about it. So if the channel fails, I'm going to go back to school and get a nuclear engineering PhD, probably. But, we're killing it. Data miners found the Elden Ring tree to be 4 kilometers tall. What do you think? It doesn't change the conclusion of our episode, but that's way big. That's way big. Is it big enough? Is the dose they got, the Russian soldiers, big enough for them to get cancer someday? Let me put it this way. Okay? At the end of one of the articles I read about Russian soldiers in the zone, the article ended with a very badass quote. And what it was is one of the engineers there, or technicians, I might be getting this wrong, said, we'd like to invite Putin to the new safe confinement, and once he's there, we'll shut the door. Now the Ukrainians, all the contact I've had with anybody and everything that I've read, they're hard asses, man. I respect it. Um, but even then, see, that sounds bad, right? Getting locked inside the dome that covers this sarcophagus. Well, the sarcophagus isn't here yet. Um, I calculated based on the background radiation rate inside of the new safe confinement, which I myself went inside with this actual Geiger counter right here. And we do have a whole video on going inside. It just hasn't come out yet because the world was on fire. Based on my personal experience of the radiation rates just 6 months ago, it would take 56 days of sitting inside to elevate your risk of cancer. So that should immediately contradict your idea of it being immediately dangerous in the most dangerous part. Outside in the zone, much less dangerous. Really close, much more dangerous. But it would take 2 months of sitting next to it to do anything appreciable, like increase your risk of cancer. Keep that in mind. The rates are not as high as you think. James Johns with the 5. I believe I'm not the only one. I would like more videos like the Mortal Kombat series from Because Science. I want Kyle throwing fireballs like Ryu. I always pitch the Science of series like that, but a bit of insider information, John. A series like that costs about, I don't know, $200,000 to $500,000 to make. So you need the right partner. We were working with Warner Brothers, so it's easier that way. We'll see. Why would Chernobyl be a target in the first place? What value does the site even have? Says Charlie. It wasn't a target for any energy, because there's no energy being produced there. It probably wasn't a target for any sort of weird dirty bomb stuff. Russia already has nuclear weapons. That'd be dangerous and counterproductive. It's probably just because it's right on the border next to Belarus, and no one's there, relatively speaking. So it would be easy to take. But it seems like Russia did not anticipate the vigorous defense that the Ukrainian people would be putting on. Is the wish granter inside reactor number 4? No. Cardinal Slinky with the 1999. You guys are too generous, going too fast. I missed Tia's question. Was it about the people digging the trenches back then or now? Yeah, cleaning this. So this is right after the disaster happened. Cleaning this up, going on the roof, cleaning off radioactive material. Yeah, that could kill you in a few minutes to hours. Completely different. Totally different. It's been 35 years. This whole thing is encased in concrete. This whole thing is encased in a giant dome. Totally different. Walk swiftly with narcotics. Kyle, longtime watcher. I think the previous commenter on your take on free speech and anti-freedom was referring to saying free speech is dangerous. Care to elaborate? I said free speech, holding on to absolutist free speech when science has something to say about it, when it can be actively dangerous to public health, that's where the issue comes in. Free speech isn't the freedom to say whatever you want anywhere. Why don't we use sodium instead of lithium for batteries? I don't know. I don't know off the top of my head. The Refined Gamer with the 5. Man, I'm caffeinated today. Can you guys tell? Refined Gamer with the 5. I had all of my shots, but I got COVID. I don't believe the proper testing has gone into it. It was so rushed and works. Our immune system makes me very hesitant. It says the Refined Gamer with the 5. Unfortunately, everything that you said isn't accurate. So, we've been working on this particular vaccine technology that you see in Moderna and et cetera, et cetera. We've been working on the same vaccine technology, RNA technology, for the last 20 years. It was not rushed at all. In fact, it is the second most effective vaccine ever produced, which makes it one of the most effective medicines in the history of humanity. Vaccines themselves have almost single-handedly doubled the human lifespan, and beyond that, the vaccines for COVID specifically have had some of the longest and largest human trials of any medicine or any vaccine ever. They are beyond tested at this point, and at this point we have no reason to believe 2 years in that they have any long-term effects beyond what we already know for any other kind of vaccine or medicine. These are no different, and in being no different from other vaccines, it means they're incredibly safe and incredibly effective, especially when you have to vaccinate billions of people. Clip it. I was a nuclear positive guy, but then the nuclear waste topic pushed me to the anti-nuclear side for a while, and then your video changed my mind again. Thank you. Hey, just doing my job. Yeah, I often worry. No vaccine is 100% effective. Yes, I know. No medicine is 100% effective. But if something's 96 to 98% effective, it's better than almost every medicine known to man. And when your chances... I want to bring something up to you, Chet. Davil Monkey says, disagree. Okay. I mean, talk to the studies, not me. Talk to the people who know what they're talking about, not people on, on 4chan or wherever they are. Twitter. I want to put something in your chat. What do you remember about polio? What do you remember about polio? You remember the terrible stories and images of people getting paralyzed. I bring this up because this was a long polio effect. Now, when I say long polio effect, I mean in the same way you've heard of long COVID, long polio, getting debilitated, was a minority of people long-term effect of the disease. And that's what we remember. From this pandemic, we are set to remember the same thing. Long COVID, long-term cardiovascular, mental, sensory damage is going to stamp itself like an indelible and terrible imprint on millions and millions and millions of people. It's not just fatalities. It is going to be a true and tremendous cost to society. So when we talk about vaccines, when we talk about doing what's good for public health, it's not just preventing people from dying, and we're talking about reducing mortality and things like that. We're talking about trying to prevent a grand what's the word I'm trying to think of? It's going to mess up a lot of people's lives for a long time. Tremendous cost. Anyway, what was I trying to say? Garnish. I was going to say garnish like wages. That doesn't make any sense. If James Johns with another 2 says, if I lost electrons, I'd be better. I'm positive. Come on. Cardinal Slinky again. Cameron Garcia says, how do you communicate effectively with people that have fallen down the conspiracy theory rabbit hole? Look, you've even seen in this stream that I do this for a living and I can't convince people. So, once you're far enough down the rabbit hole that you can't see daylight anymore, I don't know. I don't have a good answer. I just don't. I wish I did. My first approximation of whether or not I should have a conversation with someone is, would any evidence change your mind? Is there any evidence, in theory, some study, some testimony, something that I could give you and you would be like, oh yeah, you're right, my bad, if that doesn't even exist in theory, why are we arguing? You know, Cardinal Slinky with a 9.99. Another tenet for thoughtful public health messaging. Also, wasn't polio what FDR had? Yeah. I mean, I think so. I got about 5 more minutes before I want to jump. Well, before I have to jump on a call about an exciting NDA opportunity, maybe. So, I'll let you formulate some interesting questions to ask me. But I know we didn't get up to all of our topics today. Didn't even get to latest episode of the facility. But what I will tell you is coming up next on the facility, I want to get to more gaming stuff. I want to get back to streaming Elden Ring. Maybe it's just on my weekends. You can see by my tanness that I like to get outside and not do that. But I need to do that. But this upcoming week on the facility, we're doing an episode about The Simpsons. And look, I know I'm like the nuclear guy these days. I didn't mean it to be like that, but it has to do with Homer Simpson and nuclear stuff. And I think it will be a fun one. I think so. George Thaxton with the one who actually retracted his message. Classy. Nordic Ninja. Hi, how fast do you think in-atmosphere ion flight will grow until human flight is viable, and what are the risks? I want more research after work. In-atmosphere ion flight. I don't super know what you're talking about, because ion engines are useful in space, where you can build up velocity over a long time, weeks to months to years, and you have to do that because the thrust is so tiny. I once read that you could literally put your hand behind an ion thruster and you could leave it there and it wouldn't heat up to the point you'd need to remove it. You can't do that with any other kind of jet engine, can you? So, it's an incredibly tiny amount of thrust. Why it's useful is that if there's no air resistance and nothing pulling you down, you can build up speed in space for a long amount of time with that tiny amount of thrust. But in terms of in atmosphere, I don't even think that's a thing, is it? Kyle, when fighting misinformation, you need to be very specific. That 96 effectiveness number is specific to hospitalization/serious disease, but only roughly 60 to 70% effective against breakthrough infection, FYI. Well, speaking about being more specific, Ryu, Kachu, these current vaccines weren't specifically designed to stop breakthrough infections. So by tacking on that number that you mentioned, the 60 to 70%, it's misleading. You know what I mean? Oh, sure, I'm not making fun of you, but what I'm saying is that if you say, like, well, yeah, that sounds good if it's 96% effective, but it's actually only 60% effective. Well, it's not meant to do that part. Let me turn your question on its head, Ryakuchu. The fact that the vaccines weren't meant to stop breakthrough infections, some vaccines are, these were not. The fact that they can prevent breakthrough infections and also are that effective at reducing overall mortality rate is even better than you think. What if they were 0% effective at preventing breakthrough infections, but they reduced your mortality rate by almost 100%? Still good. Let's not get it mistaken here. I have about 1 minute. So I'm going to have to go to Jay Arrows with a $99.99 donation. Thank you. It's way too much money. Spend it on a nice poke bowl. I think today is Chernobyl Remembrance Day. Simping and secret shooting x-rays today. Love the science. Jay Arrows, thank you so much. The town that I stayed in Chernobyl, where all the workers live, Slavutich, Ukraine, they had a Remembrance Day a couple of hours ago where people were lighting candles and stuff like that. It was very nice. It's a tremendously important moment in history, and what did they say in all caps? It's like, we will not forget, something like that. So, thank you for all you do as a science communicator. What? Me? Speaking of, if you want to engage with me, not just here, not just live, not just yelling at about me about when I get things wrong, which I try to keep to a minimum, you can go to patreon.com/Kyle Hill. Join the facility today. You get access to our members-only Discord. We can chat with me. You can even ping me if you want. 24 hours a day. Don't do that. You can get access to behind-the-scenes bloopers, videos. You can help us vote on episodes, topics, titles, thumbnails, all that goodness. You get to see episodes early, as my patrons will this week. Coming up this week at the facility, a Homer Simpson episode, I think. Smash that like button, fam. I will remember to cut out the intro of the VOD so you don't complain to me about it. Maybe we'll stream this weekend. We'll see. How is it your hair is so light and your beard is so dark? Genetics. Wherever I see you next, I hope when I see you, whether that's live, whether that's VOD, whether that's at the Ren Fair, which it could be. Hope you have a wonderful rest of whatever time it is there, wherever you are, on whatever planet you've chosen to migrate to. Remember, until next time, be nice to each other, especially on the hellscape that is to become Twitter, because this is all we got.